Marky Worthington Podcast all day.
All day.
Dream by night.
Don't buy me a drink. Just give me $10.
All day.
Go down to the strip club with your floppy disk and turn it into a hard drive.
Yeah, right. You'll get fucking thrown out by Big Tony.
We're here to name names and make people feel more ashamed for shit that they're not proud of.
Don't blow it. Keep it simple. Count your money.
No, whatever it is.
Hello and welcome to the Marky Worthington Comedy Podcast. This is episode number 80, the first episode of 2023. If you're listening to this, you got through 2022. And no better to welcome into the new year than long-time co-worker, I guess, in the comedy scene. First time you've been on the podcast in probably since its early stages. Chris Marlton, how you doing?
Hello, good to be here. How are you today?
How crazy is that intro? It took longer than most of my intros. So there you go, kicking it. Hey, that's the theme of 2023.
It's the sign of a good podcast. The longer the intro, the better the podcast is. I was listening today to Scroobius Pip doing his end of year special with Adam Buxton and Richard Herring, all on the one podcast, like the three kings of British talk interview podcasts. And it's a good episode. It's a double episode. It's interesting, but the introduction was hours long. Very, very long introduction. I was like, hey, Scroobius, trim that up a little bit. What do I know? He's one of the biggest podcasters in the world, and I'm drinking coffee in Geralang.
Yep, exactly. And also listen to how people didn't have to listen to ads to get, so like enjoy the intro while it's just an intro, because one day maybe there'll be ads before that and you'll have to wait to get through ads before you hear the intro.
Oh god.
So if you just raw dogged the intro, then you're in at the ground level. Welcome. I was slightly above the ground level now. I've been running this now, like I mentioned before. You've been first time you've been on since like the early inception of the podcast. I think it was less than episode 10 when you were last on.
And that was with Taylor and Nick, the Three Blind Men. That was a wild podcast. There's a lot of competing energy in the room, and we were doing it on a stage, holding microphones.
That's right, yeah.
Which is very different to the current setup.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's evolved over. So I used to do the podcast before the basement open mics. So whoever wanted to be on was going to...
In the back room.
In the back room, yeah.
Have you thought about doing other comedy shows in the back room, since it is a more condensed space?
Yes. Yeah, so coming into this year, we'll be doing more back room comedy options. Like I've got a couple of ideas for like a more intimate comedy show, like not so much like traditional stand-up. I think that the venue wants to keep that in the front room and grow that audience, but more like intimate, like roast battles and stuff in the back room. I think would be cool. Also,
that could be a place for amateur Canberra comedians to shoot, because it's a enclosed space. You could set up audio good audio. It's got a deck. It's got all that stuff there. If you set it up right, someone could film a first special in there.
Yeah.
Because you can pack people in there, make it feel good, put 3 or 4 cameras in there, a GoPro behind, a GoPro on the side, and you've suddenly got this enclosed, interesting little setup.
Yeah. Yeah, my initial plan was to film my first solo show there. However, the problem was when it came to dates, there was just none that were like optimal for ticket sales and stuff. Like I didn't at the time want to do like a first show on like a Thursday night. I'd prefer to do it at Smith's on a Saturday than there on a Thursday. Just for how I did it. And it just happened so well that like it happened to fall on the exact 5-year anniversary at the same venue when I started.
Yes.
So I was just like, I just have to like... I'll do that, and then the plan is eventually to do another recording in that back room, because that's although it wasn't where I started, I've got like a lot of history there. Yeah. So we do like intro stuff, like what I am or who I am, for people who don't know who I am. I mean, obviously everyone knows who I am, but people who don't know who I am. Yeah, for sure. For people that don't know, how could you, first of all, describe, how long have you been doing comedy for?
So I started doing stand-up comedy in 2017 at Smith's Alternative, the old Smith's Alternative, before they renovated. Started showing up at some open mics. I had hosted a trivia night at work and had to write some jokes for that, and thought, this is actually really good. So I'd been doing comedy in my life in short films and writing and short stories and everything since forever.
Yep.
That's always been a thing. So I've been writing comedy stuff my whole life, and suddenly doing it on stage, I was like, oh, I actually might like this.
Yeah.
So 2017, I think, was the first
First
open mic, and then first festival related thing was probably 2019 with Nick Schuler and Taylor Coftree doing the Three Blind Men. We did Canberra Comedy Festival, went to the Melbourne Comedy Festival, did 2 weeks down there. Big eye opener in terms of what that's like. Saw a lot of shows, and then obviously 2020 COVID came along.
Yep.
Cancelled the first solo show, which was going to be called Bin Juice, which is from the famous aeroplane coffee bin juice, which I'm actually drinking some bin juice right now. So.
Yeah, I actually got that ready for you. I've had that waiting since 2019.
Hey, it's a good bit. It's a good bit. Hang on to it. Yeah, that's
you should
the
wait
thing.
until the super vaccinated garbage baby comes out.
Oh God, the actual.
They helped make the bin juice.
They are. Yeah. Well, there's bins. There's
It's
garbage.
just one. They just identify as they. They have their pronouns are they.
All my content is related to garbage and trash and bins and
Exactly,
everything. Yeah.
Whereas I just am that in real life. My content's completely different.
That's not true. But yeah, so started 5 years ago now, almost coming up to 6 next August.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. That's so just before me actually. Like I think it was November.
It was all around the same time. Yeah. That end mid the sort of the end of 2017 is when you, me, Nick, Taylor, we all started around then.
Yeah, and it's interesting because back then, like you could start a month before someone and still have the same amount of stage time because if you didn't time it right, there was a mic that got cancelled or something.
Oh, there was so few. There was the front had a couple and then shut down.
Yep.
And the Smiths was only once a month, and. What was the one? The
Phoenix.
The Phoenix, yeah, that's what it's called. There was the Phoenix, and they were the only open mics you could do.
And it was all over the place. Hey, Phoenix was like, maybe we'll have one this week. Maybe it'll be like it was once a month, but it would always change, like exactly.
Well, it used to Frankie McNair used to run it, and she was keen for more stage time, so she started putting them on twice a month.
Yeah.
And that was really good. They were on was it a Wednesday or a Tuesday?
Thursday, I think. No, Tuesday.
Tuesdays. They were Tuesdays. And so we'd rock up there on a Tuesday, and some of those lineups, you would have. I've been at the Phoenix on an open mic, and you'd have Chris Ryan, Frankie McNair, Emma Holland, Nick Schuler, Taylor Coftree, Anthony Tomic, Andrew Bensley,
Harris
Stuckey, James McMahon, us jokers, Matty Weeks, a lineup that
Bill Macon,
Bill Macon, fucking of course, legend Bill. Like all these people, I'm forgetting names here, but just people where you're like, oh, half those people are on gala shows and road shows now.
Yeah.
And there were 6 people in the Phoenix watching it, just going, playing pool or drinking and talking at the back. And we're just doing this stuff going, oh, you guys don't care? Okay, well, I guess no one knew it was on.
Yeah.
Sometimes a few people would show up. But
but like it would always be like, it was weird. You get people like that were just walking by that would be like, oh, fuck, what's going on in there? It was a weird, and also it was in that weird place, you know what I mean? Like it was just like a similar place to Sideway now, but it's like a different vibe, like Sideway being upstairs.
Yeah, because Sideway's upstairs. It's a bit removed from the bus interchange vibe, whereas Phoenix,
you were part of the bus interchange.
Was in the bus interchange.
It was basically a bus stop.
It was a bus stop, yeah. There's glass there. You could see out when they didn't close the curtain, which they often didn't.
Yeah.
Everyone says, oh, bring back the Phoenix. It's like, oh, I don't even think the people who ran the Phoenix wanted the Phoenix to be open. Like, it was bizarre. And you'd win if you got voted best on the night, which was a funny thing. You would get a originally $100 bar tab, but then as the bar got started to struggle more and more, it became a $50 one. And I won that one week and went back 2 weeks later to use it. And they said, oh, this is only for on the night. And I'm like, what?
It's awarded at the end of the night.
Yeah, awarded at the end of the night, and you have to use it immediately. It's like, oh, what, you want me to get drunk on a Tuesday night? I don't even drink. And
after 9:30.
Yeah, 10 o'clock on a Tuesday night, here, get hammered. Here's $100 worth of alcohol and a dirty glass. It's probably not a dirty glass.
Yeah. No, it was. Fuck it. What are they gonna do? No, I remember so I never went to the Phoenix for comedy when it was where it used to be bigger, like the Phoenix
Before the fire.
before the fire. But I went there for a gig one night, and ended up watching my mate like try and break up a fight with two dudes from Mooseheads out the front of Phoenix. That was a pretty fun time.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
Yeah, it was also on a Tuesday night, and
Always is.
yeah, but I only went there. I don't know if they ever did comedy when it was how it used to be in the original setup. I only went there after they'd had like the fire and changed the layout.
Yes. Yeah.
But I remember the old Phoenix, you'd walk in and the bar was like to the right as soon as you walked in. And yeah, it was like a completely different setup. And then by reducing the layout, they sort of changed the whole vibe of the place.
Oh, it completely changed. It used to be a proper venue where you could have gigs and stuff. It was still a shithole, but I mean, in a nice way. It always felt like the kind of place where homeless people could walk into and still, feel fine.
yeah.
There was no class. There was no classes.
One thing about that first gig I went to at the Phoenix, funny story about that. The band we watched, it was like their first ever gig.
Yep.
And they had like 6 songs and they did really well. And they were like, encore. And they're like, well, we don't have any other songs. And then someone goes, play the first one again. So they're like, all right, we're about to do the lamest thing ever. We're playing the first song
I don't think that's
again.
that lame. That's good.
It's
all those people are drunk anyway.
instant
They hardly,
replay.
yeah. They hardly, that is an actual encore. An encore of the first song.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Girlang, how long have you been in Girlang for?
I've lived here for a couple of years now, like nearly 2 years, yeah.
Yeah, okay. There's roadworks from my place to here on a Saturday. The roads are full of cars. I was driving here. I'm like, God, how many podcasts are on this morning? There's cars everywhere, all just going off to record a podcast.
Yeah.
Everyone's got a podcast these days.
It's
And
more potholes than podcasts.
well, they're trying to fix it. I guess Baldwin Avenue Drive. Is it Baldwin Drive?
I think it's Drive.
Named after the late, great Alec, who was neither late nor great, running me late on the fucking roadworks.
Later and greater.
Yeah, God. Fucking Alec Baldwin, huh? So I was late for the podcast. Apologies again. Apologies, listener. If you're listening to this a little bit late, that's my fault. I'll take full responsibility. You can rest easy. I don't even have my own car. I drove here in my dad's car. You would have heard how loud the exhaust was.
I heard
right?
it rolling up. I was just
it's insane. It's like a Lancer Ralliart, which has the same engine as an Evo.
Yeah.
The Evo 10, but it's only got the drivetrain of the Evo 9. Shock horror, as though that's a bad thing.
Yeah.
And then it's got the SST gearbox from the Evo 10. And it didn't have good suspension stock. That was one of the things they got rid of. And so my dad just put like $2,500 coilovers in it. And a 3-inch exhaust and a tune. So it's 280 kilowatts at the wheels.
Wow.
Which is, as you know, in an all-wheel drive Mitsubishi rally car,
Yeah.
absolutely insane. You can't use any of that on the road. You just, okay, I'm up to speed limit already, just constant.
Yeah.
So I'm driving that because I hit a kangaroo Wednesday week ago, about 10 days ago.
What happened?
So Transit Bar.
Yep.
Where we do comedy sometimes. I was there just to watching the great, I was going to say the late great, but he's not late at all, Jacques Barrett. Have you seen him live?
Yeah, I have, yeah.
Incredible.
At Civic Pub when he did there.
Oh, when he was emceeing for Tom Gibson headlining about 5 years ago, yeah?
No.
Or was it another time? I think that's the only time
It was
he's done.
once between now and then.
Oh, he did a headline spot
Yeah,
there
he
too.
did a
Okay,
headline spot.
He is as good, if not better, than any other comedian in the country.
Yep.
Absolutely insane. If you are listening to this and you don't know anything about Jacques Barrett, follow him on Instagram, follow him on Facebook. If you can see him this festival season, see him. He's recording his special, I think, up in Newcastle, from what he said.
Yep.
It's called, his show right now, his current hour is called The Special, which is so great because it's referring to himself as, he's the chosen one. But it's just, hey, did you watch The Special yet?
Yeah.
So good, so clever.
But also to comedians, it's like an inside joke as well. Like he's literally covering all the bases.
He's covering everything, which he does a lot. Like when I've never seen... It reminds me actually of when I used to watch Ostentatious in the early 2000s, the levels, and a lot of people who don't know a lot about Ostentatious won't realise how clever and smart and amazing his live shows Probably still are at times, but really used to be. When you'd go see him in the early 2000s, it was just insane. Anyway, it's that same level of very able to appeal to any audience.
Yep.
To find the people who are like, nah, mate, this is Australia, that they will die laughing. And then the people who are like, actually, we want to be more careful about the things we're saying and thinking, you're laughing. He's just got so much gear. I'm not going to do any of it here, obviously, because there's nothing worse than doing another comedian's gear on a podcast to show how good they are. But he was headlining.
Here's a version of his stuff.
Yeah, here's a worse version of the thing I'm trying to promote to make it look... Anyway, so Transit Bar, Canberra Comedy Club, emceed that night, I think, by the fantastic Sarah Eisen, who's getting better and better at everything she does, you know, really improving. So, maybe one of the best MCs in Canberra right now. She's just been doing so much MCing.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw her MC. I hadn't seen her MC at the Canberra Comedy Club before. And there was 80 people in there, and she just ran it like, if you didn't know anything about her, that she was a journalist up at Parliament House and all that, you'd be like, did they bring her in from interstate as well?
Right.
It was just energetic, moving around, all that stuff. Really just strengths to strengths. Anyway, I'm talking too much about other comedians. Setting the scene. Good gig. Had a chat with everyone afterwards. Dropped another comedian home.
Yep.
They had a guitar, forgot the guitar, started driving home, turned back, dropped the guitar back, driving home, looking up at the moon, going, oh, the moon's so bright. Oh, my God, fucking kangaroo jumps out at 80 kilometres an hour, just jumps out of a bush in front of me. Like,
oh, shit.
And in retrospect, if there was footage of this, it was probably all my fault and I probably could have stopped. Didn't feel like it at the time. 80, probably slowed down to 50, 60 before in my Mitsubishi Colt Ralliart.
Yep.
All the families seem to have Ralliarts.
Yeah.
My sister up in Brisbane has
Mitsubishi
also
family,
a Mitsubishi Colt Ralliart. Well, the problem was with that, I had a Colt Ralliart and my sister had borrowed it and driven it. And then when she went to try and buy a car, every car she test drove, she's like, oh, this is shit compared to my brother's Colt Ralliart. So she just ended up buying a second-hand Colt Ralliart because for that price, everything was trash comparatively. Yeah, it's so good. Anyway, I managed to fuck mine up. It's now at the towing yard getting assessed. In a couple of days, we'll see if I get it repaired, if they can find the vented.
Oh, shit.
It's got that Evo 9 hood.
Yeah, I know the one.
Which is quite rare these days.
I bought shirts out of the back of it once.
Yes, you did. Yeah. Well, this is a different one. This is a silver one. I sold the black one because it was getting up and the exhaust manifold had a crack in it.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And I was going to fix it and keep going. And they said, look, it's got 230,000 kilometres on it. This type of thing may keep happening. And I said, yeah, okay. And I found a silver one up in Brisbane with only 70,000 Ks on it for $8,000.
Yeah.
Now it's 17 grand. You know how the ridiculous jumping car prices. You wouldn't be able to get one with that many Ks for less than 15.
Yeah.
But I got it for 8. Yeah. Sold my black one for 11 because it was a little bit later. I held on to it till the prices went up, which feels like stock market. Anyway, avoided having the car behind me run into me. They pulled over to see if I needed any help. Worst thing in the world, the kangaroo just got a broken leg and just lay in the middle of this 80 kilometre an hour thing, and it was the most traumatic, horrific thing. Listeners, if you're a bit squeamish, fast forward. I am going to talk about it. I didn't know what to do because I was freaking out about, not freaking out, but I just had this shock. And then suddenly another car's coming and I'm trying to wave them off to not, I didn't know what, this probably was the best thing for them to hit it again just to kill it because parks were just going to come kill, like the ACT government weren't going to save its life. It had a broken leg, like snapped broken leg, and it was just lying there and then it just got smashed by this fucking four-wheel drive. And it was still alive after that, except its leg had got ripped off and thrown down the road.
What the fuck? And
it was in agony. And then another car came and hit it, thank God, and it died. But I was like, this is horror movie stuff. I felt like I was in Saw, dude. It was the worst. I don't know if it's therapeutic talking about it. Yeah. It's definitely not therapeutic listening to it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
For me, some people might like it.
Yeah. It's pretty hard. But don't have the car anymore. I had to wait for this towing guy. Shout out to whatever the guy's name is. I can't remember now. Braden or something. I don't remember his name.
Probably Brad. Brad's a tow guy now.
It was similar to that. He was a big chunky dude, young dude. And
Big Brad,
He seemed like he showed up about 2 hours after the crash and it seemed like if you were a bad writer and you had to write
Yep.
a tow truck driver. That's who showed up.
Yeah, okay.
He was like, "Hey guys, how we doing?" Well, yeah, no, I've got tow trucks in my blood. My dad used to do the tow trucks. My parents are split up, and summers I just was in the truck. I'm like, is this a thing? Is tow trucking in the family? Like, can you be a tow truck person? It's like, oh, from father to father to father. It's like, what? Tow trucks haven't even been around for that long. He's like, oh, the coppers the other day, I was picking up a car, and I said, don't stand there, mate. And he stood there, and I had to once the cable snapped, I hit him, I dove, we hit the ground, he tried to get up, I held him down. I told the other coppers, you stay right there. And then the cable went and flipped all over the place. It would have cut him in half. I'm like, what is going on? Look at my dad, and my dad's looking at me because my dad came to pick me up in his Lancer Ralliart Beast. We're just looking at each other. Is this a real... This guy was awesome, though.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it is a bad thing.
Awesome,
but
yeah.
he just seemed like if I had written all of these things, you would say, that's super unrealistic for that to happen.
Yeah.
No one's going to show up as a fucking tow truck driver and talk the way he has and be the person he was. Outrageous. It was all from go to woe. Oh, you're lucky. I was just about to get in the shower and go to bed. Yeah, I got the call and I had headed out. Just every single thing was every cliche of what you would imagine. I was like, is this even real? Like, my life has become a weird series of... Anyway, so that's... Yeah, driving around, not my car, don't find out. Dead kangaroos, trauma. Got to bed at 5 a.m. and I'm still fucked from that. That's one of the reasons. Yeah. That's why I'm late.
Aside from the potholes and repairs, the other cars that hit the roof, were they damaged at all? Like I don't know about the
It was lying
drive,
down with its head up. Like it was lying down like on its side. Like it was
paint
relaxing.
me like one of your French girls.
Yeah, exactly. It was sitting like that, like trying to prop itself up, but not knowing it couldn't move.
Yeah.
And it just got cleaned up. Like I think it might have... There was no resistance at that point. They just got snapped back. You know, just hammered. Oh.
It's gnarly.
And the leg just kept getting hit and broken
That's
over
fucking
and over again by more and more cars. It was just so awful.
That's
really,
fucking wild.
Really distressing because it was looking at me like, dude, help me. I'm an icon. I'm an Australian icon. And I said, hey.
I'm on the 50-cent piece.
Yeah, dude. I don't even... Is that true? I'm on the... Who has it? I haven't seen a 50-cent piece since 2008. Money. Well, who's got money? That's crazy. A 50-cent... Can you even use a 50... You go to a shop and they're like, your money's no good here, mate.
Most places.
I want a gold coin or nothing. 50-cent pieces.
Yeah.
How many sides are on a 50?
I don't know.
Is it 12?
No, more than that.
More? No. 12's a lot.
Yeah, I think there's more than 12. I reckon
Have you got a 50-cent piece here in the
Yeah, open that drawer.
We're
See that little safe that says keep out? Put that on the table.
Okay, we're going into there's a vault. We've opened the vault and there is a 50-cent piece here. We're going to count the edges of a 50-cent piece.
Okay. All right, let's do this. So what I'm going to do, technique I learned.
Just do half.
Half.
Yeah, genius. Do a quarter and quadruple it. Oh. How many are we going for? Is there 16?
I just counted 3 on 1 quarter.
Oh, so we know. It's 12. It's a dodecahedron.
There's 12 on there. You actually got it right.
Yes, beautiful. There we go for the... I don't know if you can see that, listeners. And there... And when we say there's a kangaroo, there's a fucking IATSIS logo. That's not a kangaroo.
Yeah, this isn't the standard.
How disrespectful.
Use this one.
How disrespectful. There we go. Because it's the full emblem. That's the emu as well. The kangaroo doesn't have its own coin though, does it?
Yeah, it doesn't, no.
It was this dude. His father.
Oh,
it's
shit.
Like
that was the guy?
This was his dad.
Oh, dude. Yeah, the reason I have this is, have you ever got do you remember in 2008 when you last handled coins and one of them was slightly different?
Oh, yeah.
This is my life of every different coin I've ever gotten.
Coins.
Yeah.
Living it up.
Yep.
It's actually quite a lot of money then.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not huge. What is it, like $80?
Probably about that.
Yeah. Or maybe not even. Because this stacks up quick, but then it gets less.
It gets less and less.
And even that last one's probably about, $10.
Well, this was unplanned, but that's also my random... for the audio listeners, I have a random money bag of all the random coins I've also collected.
The random coinamizer. That's crazy. There you go.
And underneath that, I have... Oh no, I've got random notes as well.
Random banknotes.
Yeah, just from around the world. Anyway, whatever. Fuck, that's just all.
Yeah, we'll put that back. But that's beautiful.
That's interesting. And I used to have it under that, but I've moved it into a scrapbook to bring it back into comedy.
Yeah.
My first ever.
$50 you got paid at the
No,
Civic Pub?
no. I didn't. I kept the money and used that, but I kept the bar voucher.
Oh, from the Phoenix. The first
No,
time
from the Civic Pub, the drink ticket.
Oh, okay. So for
says-
people listening, comedians will get like a few tickets for a free drink.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, and it says the date, time, the date and venue, and Canberra Comedy
You gonna
Club on
frame
there. I'm saving them up, and eventually I'd like
Frame
to
a few of
frame
them.
something.
Yeah, nice.
It's
Yeah.
like Laura Johnson was saying that she's kept her money from every comedy thing she's done.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, what you should do instead of keeping the actual money is keep it, some of it, at least your first, like, say, 5 or 10,
Yeah.
and then put them all together in like a collage and photocopy that, and then get all the room runners that gave them to sign.
That's so intricate. Yeah,
next
yeah, yeah.
to their note.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then you can use that money and you've still got something
Still
to
got
show
something
for
to
it.
show for it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's funny because at some point, if you're keeping all of the pay as like a commemorative thing, you're just saving money.
Yeah, yeah.
You're like,
yeah.
oh, what am I doing here? Oh, you know what? It's so memorable. I've just kept every paycheck and I just put it in the bank.
Someone pointed out something.
That's what rich people are doing. They're just really nostalgic about pay.
Yeah, exactly. It's
Billionaires. I'm just so nostalgic about the idea of hoarding money.
It's like one of my early bits. I was like, I was single at the time, and I was just like, I have an idea. I'll find like a hoarder that's still close to my age and not bad looking. Give her my number so she won't be able to throw it out, and maybe will call me.
Yeah, yeah, that's.
Yeah.
And at the very least, when they find her like buried in her own possessions,
Yeah.
they'll blame you. 'Cause they're like, who does she know? Who would give her a phone number?
Never mentioned a relationship.
Yeah, yeah. Did you ever see that episode of Toast of London with Matt Berry?
No, I don't even know what Toast of London
So
is.
Toast of London is a sitcom. You know Matt Berry, right?
No.
You know, have you seen The Mighty Boosh?
Yeah.
IT Crowd?
Yeah.
You know the son, the boss, Renham Jr., who's in the boss of season 2, 3, and 4? He's got that deep voice, does that voice all the time.
Yeah.
Father, that kind of
that guy.
That guy. He was in Garth Marenghi's Dark Place originally, and always worked with Matt Holness and Richard Ayoade back then. But he got his own sitcom, which was a similar type of character to the character he played on Garth Marenghi's Dark Place, except a bit older, called I can't remember his first name now. Last name Toast though.
Yep.
I can't remember his. Not Richard Toast. Anyway.
Yeah.
And he plays like an actor in England, but it's a sitcom, and it's co-written by him and Arthur Matthews, who was one of the writers with Graham Linehan, because Graham Linehan wrote the IT Crowd.
Okay.
Arthur Matthews was his writing partner for Big Train. You remember the Big Train sketch show with Simon Pegg, Mark Heap, and I'm forgetting so many names, Julia Davis.
Okay.
Anyway, Big Train is considered by a lot of people to be the best sketch show ever made.
Okay, yeah.
It's if anyone's looking, you'll see on TikTok and everywhere. There's all these old sketches with Simon Pegg in it.
Yeah, yeah.
And you're like, oh, what's that from?
Yep.
That's from Big Train.
Big Train,
because
yeah.
that was the sketch show he made. And there was 2 seasons of it. It was incredible. Arthur Matthews and Graham Linehan wrote Father Ted. You ever see Father Ted?
No.
So that's one of the more famous British sitcoms back in the day.
Yeah.
But he went from that to IT Crowd
Okay.
to cancelled. And Arthur Matthews
Interesting.
also, they used to write for Alexi Sale. You know Alexi Sale?
No.
There's so many. The history of English comedy. Yeah. Alexi Sale is actually a good podcast recently where he was interviewing Stuart Lee.
Yep.
Which is one of the better episodes I've heard recently. But the Alexi Sale podcast was great. I heard one recently where he interviewed Saul Williams, actually. Isn't that just me talking about podcasts?
Yeah.
But anyway, Arthur Matthews and Graham Linehan, very good writers. Almost tipped my bin juice all over the counter. But Arthur Matthews also wrote Black Books.
Okay.
With Dylan Moran. He's the guy they bring in with another comedian who's got a lot of good funny ideas to structure it into a good show while also being very funny himself. Like he co-writes a lot of sitcoms with other great other like lead people. Mm-hmm. Anyway, Toast of London is that, and in the first episode he meets a girl who's pretty hot, goes to a house, and it's just the most comically hoarderish house you've ever seen in your life. Stuff stacked everywhere. everywhere. And I won't tell any jokes from it, but highly recommend watching Toast of London. It's absolutely insane, but very funny.
I seen a clip from, I don't know if it was actually maybe from one of these sketch shows that you mentioned, where they had this guy when they were recreating Undateables, that British TV show.
Yes. Yeah.
And he's you know the interpreter for Jabba the Hutt?
Yes.
That with like the giant fucking thing
yeah.
growing out of his head and it comes around and sits on his shoulder. So he's in Undateables in this sket.
Okay. Yeah.
And he's like, they put him on a date with this chick and he's just going like, oh yeah, I used to kind of work in politics before I, used to do a bit of work for Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah.
And then he like does a little bit of Hutt speak and he's just like, just stuff like that.
Yeah.
And the chick's like, oh, okay, yeah. And she leaves.
Yeah.
And he was just like, what the fuck? Did you say she had a mole on her face? What the fuck? Why would you put me up with someone like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, I skimmed over the sket, but it's like, fucking, I still think about that. I can't watch Star Wars now without thinking about that bit.
That guy and his dating life.
Yeah. I've seen
It
a
is
few.
interesting thinking about all of those characters and all those things having their life outside of the scene that they're in.
Yeah.
I guess that's what Austin Powers was doing when it's like the henchman would die and then you'd cut away to an elongated vignette of their life or their family being like, I can't believe he's gone.
Yeah.
I can't believe he's dead. Like the family being like, he was like a father to me. I can't believe he's dead. And then like, the guys having drinks at the bar. It's like, to Smitty or whatever. Because it's like, well, obviously the henchmen who you're just randomly killing hundreds of had families in life.
That was my first ever. That's my first ever actual film extras role line was to Smithy.
Oh, yes. Well,
literally, I was in a historical recreation of an Antarctic exploration journey. That was the extra role that I was. And I was actually one of the explorers. And
where was this?
In Canberra.
You were making a short film.
Yeah,
in Canberra.
Yeah.
What year was this?
Earlier this year.
Earlier this year?
Yeah.
Who was making that?
This guy called Trent that was on Facebook.
Wow.
Yeah, I'll put up a link in the because it went straight to YouTube. I'll put up a link in the description of this on YouTube to the actual full film because it was quite good. I'm just an extra in one scene. I'll paint the picture. They were out exploring. One of the guys lost his leg from gangrene.
Wow.
And we're kind of just in a very somber mood after, like, hopefully he pulls through. And we filmed it in a fucking sauna.
Jesus.
Basically recreated to look like a log cabin.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. And it was black and white. And I was wearing, like, a woolen jumper and beanie. And they even had smoke to make it look like fog, like frost and shit like that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
And before every scene, here's a little behind the scenes. Before every scene, they would go around with a jug. And you know those metal camping mugs? We all had those, but because it was in black and white, they spray painted them all white before the thing. So we weren't to drink out of them because they were fresh, like that morning spray painted. And then consistently refilled with hot water before every take so they were steaming for the shot.
Yeah.
And one dude gets super into his character and takes a swig and goes, "Wah!" and just spits this like melted fucking white paint out from the cup that had like then remelted the paint and mixed with the water, and then he drank it.
That's revolting.
Yeah, and the whole time it just smelt like freshly sprayed paint.
Yeah, wow, that's awful.
So behind that one scene, that's the full story.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, put that link up, YouTube.
Yeah.
Speaking of YouTube, listeners can go along to my YouTube channel and they can see my current special, Mephisto Waltz, which is my debut comedy solo hour, which I assume you have watched.
No, I've seen clips, but not the full thing.
Everyone's seen clips because I've been posting clips
yeah.
every 2 days for the last 3 months.
You know what? I think I watched one full character.
Ah, yes. Yeah. There's 7 characters. It's a variation. It's almost like 7 specials in one.
Yeah, it's like I feel like you were doing a comedy show lineup with fucking like seven.
The one-man
5 to
gala.
seven,
Yeah.
5 to 7 minute sets.
Yeah, that show was the one-man gala. I think some of the sets are up to 13 minutes, some of them are only 7 or 8. But yeah, it's sort of, it goes for about 65 minutes, I think, overall.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and where was that filmed?
Filmed at the Canberra Theatre.
Yep.
At the Courtyard Studio there.
Yeah.
So nice little intimate space.
Yeah, good stuff.
Filmed my second one there recently, actually. Because of COVID, all those cancelled shows, I had all this material backed up. So this next Mephisto Waltz came out at the end of October.
Yep.
And that's tracking along slowly, building up subscribers, building up views, getting tracking everything.
Yeah, good stuff.
If you are listening, give us a subscribe, give us a like, it all helps.
Yeah.
Have a watch, even if you only watch one character, that'll do.
I just did that.
And but then in if you do subscribe in mid-January, my next special, Muesli Balloon, which I filmed at the end of October, will be coming out. So it is 2 specials in about 3 months, but it's obviously because of COVID, there's so much gear and so many shows to pull together and film.
Yeah.
But then the next one is at the festivals, Moonlight Pilot.
Yeah.
Is my next hour. And
That's
that'll be
awesome.
at the festivals in February. Adelaide in February, I think.
Yep.
I'm going for a week at the Rhino Room in Adelaide.
Yep.
And then back in Canberra for the Courtyard Studio, where I will try and film that again. We'll see how that goes.
Yep.
And then down to Melbourne for a couple of weeks. So hopefully I've got it pretty much locked in.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to do 2 more weeks of it, but I just got to... I don't have a lot of opportunities to film in location like the Canberra Theatre, so I better grab it by the horns when I can.
Yep.
Because it looked great.
It did, yeah.
And the second one looks a whole lot better. We've
Cool.
got the legends at Missing Bits Productions.
Right,
In Canberra.
Yep.
And they just have like a Canon C300 and an Arri Alexa. They just have the cameras that you use on feature films.
Yeah.
And it looks spectacular. So
the
first one looks good. Shot by Raf, the legend, my friend,
I know.
from Cultura Clandestino, runs every decent gig in Canberra, but a lot of stuff at the basement too. All the world music stuff at the basement.
Yeah. His gigs always do really well. Such a
So,
interesting mix up of gigs whenever a RAF gig versus what we usually have there, which is like heavy metal.
Oh yeah, it's amazing that the basement has been able to diversify like that.
It is
to be
good.
known as a heavy metal bar, but also the bar to go to for world music.
Yeah.
And you will get 500 people at the biggest ever like Latin drum concert in Australian music history. 150 different performers in one night in like an 8-hour festival. And he just organised that. And he's like, yeah, well, like what? Why aren't you even making a big deal about this? This is amazing. He's like, yeah, but I got another thing to organise soon.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to rally the focus there, and we'll try
Rally the art.
Well, no, I want to. Yes, there we go.
Yeah.
Vroom. Want to get that together and do that kind of promotion for my next festival show.
Yeah.
So, and for the next special being released, I really need to amp
Good
that
stuff.
up.
Yeah. So as well as so my thing that I spoke about before, that'll just be a link in the description. But as well as that, if you're watching this on YouTube, the play next will be Chris Marlton's
Amazing. Thank you. That is
thingy.
I didn't even know you could set that up. I know so little. About all this stuff.
Yeah. Well,
I'm learning.
I've learnt from just being a psycho and just continually trying to put up content, all self-learnt. But it does help that, having that mindset, like I work in IT, so it's like just like I need to try and make systems work.
Yeah.
So trying to like reverse engineer systems that aren't particularly intuitive or whatever.
Well, I figure, everything that gets done, someone's doing it. So why can't I learn how to do that?
Yeah.
Is a good way to view it. Like people say stuff about, who edits your specials? It's like, I edit them.
Yeah.
If you're a comedian, buy a Mac or buy a video editing software, edit your own stuff.
Learn, yeah.
Get friends who have cameras, film it. Get good at that. Because you're filming, like you'll know because you just filmed your first one recently.
Yep.
That's like an open mic for filming. You don't want to have your best show ever that you've spent 10 years building towards that could be the one that everyone goes, wow, that was the best show you ever did.
Yeah.
Get filmed like a first show.
Yep.
You want that to be filmed in a way where you've learnt from all the mistakes of filming 3 or 4 other shows.
Yep.
So that people who are introduced to you through that first show, and, this is obviously pie in the sky as if anyone will see anything, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But assuming, you got to aim high.
You have to, yeah.
You're better off filming more, watching yourself, seeing what you do on stage, seeing what you don't like you do on stage, cut it out of the next, all that type of stuff.
Yep.
Any comedians who are listening, which is probably 80% of the audience,
Yeah.
hey, record every set until you're 100% happy with how you look and act on stage. And then still do filming every now and then to check and cut out anything you don't like you doing. Because the last thing you want to do is film an hour and go, I didn't know I was doing that, or saying that, or moving like that, or looking down, or moving the mic away from my face, or anything like that. There's so many little things you can learn from watching yourself and being like, oh, I hate when other people do that. I'm doing that.
We're just going to take a quick break and we'll be back in a few minutes. Cheers.
Cheers.
Please flip over the tape to side B to hear the rest of this podcast. Okay, welcome back. You just heard the break tune.
What was the tune for the break?
So I got the intro music and then laid a audio recording of me saying, "Please flip over the tape to hear the rest of this podcast."
Yeah, nice.
So yeah, hope everyone enjoyed that.
Are we putting this on a cassette?
Not this one, no.
Can we?
It can be done, yes.
I mean, I'll have to do it, won't I?
Yeah, it will be.
Anyone who wants a copy of this on cassette,
Episode
let us know
80.
and we'll put it together. Episode 80 on cassette.
Yep. 8 tracks. Yeah, the problem is side B will be like a lot shorter than side A.
I bought a cassette deck, a Yamaha. It's only a 2-head, not a 3-head cassette deck, and I've been making a few mixtapes lately at home. It's kind of fun, just plugging in. I've got a really good Nakamichi CD player.
Nice.
The old MB10, which was the last one they made before they got sold off.
Right.
And started making absolute trash.
Yeah.
Back when they were still had some of their good people at the company.
That goes into, like, I'm into audio as well. I'll probably show you after this podcast. I've got it set up with like a old Moran's tape deck.
Yeah.
I've got a Akai amp from the 70s, 76.
Yeah.
And coincidentally, I went to Tiny's Green Shed and seen 2 old Akai speakers, bought them, took them home, researched them, found out they were the ones that came with the amp originally.
Wow. That's so cool. Matching components can be very good.
Yeah. Not just aesthetically, but like they're made for that type.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So the ohms. There's a lot of things other than basically everyone goes, how many watts is it?
Yeah.
That's like talking about how many pixels a TV is without talking about the contrast levels or the refresh rate, all these other things.
Or the quality of the thing you're playing on it.
Yeah,
as
exactly.
well. I still remember Ohm's law from high school. An ohm is the resistance offered when 1 amp is forced through a conductor under a voltage pressure of 1 volt.
Well, that's the thing. A lot of people talk about. It's
a meme now. There's literally a meme that explains the whole thing. It's just someone trying to get through a tube, and ohm is the other. Depicted as a character who's like got a rope around the tube that's tightening it so they can't get through.
Yeah, exactly. It's so I was going to say to that, and any audiophiles or physics people who listen to this, I might be saying some of it wrong, but essentially, people love vinyl sound because those are low powered devices. Most amps are built to receive about 20 to 40 ohms, and vinyl players, being low energy, pump out around that amount. So there's no distortion or flattening of the signal. CD players, when they came out, the very, very best ones had buffers, because they're high electricity devices with lasers in them and all that. They were pumping at like 800-900 ohms.
Yeah.
And so the signal was going from 900, getting compressed into a device designed to receive 20 or 15 to 30 ohms. Yeah. So unless you've got the high quality CD players will have a buffer stage that will convert that. Yeah. You can buy a separate buffer. Yep. A lot of audiophiles will have a separate buffer stage, which is a separate box that goes CD player, buffer stage, amplifier. But if you don't have that, everyone goes, oh, my CDs sound cold. Vinyl sounds so much better. The vinyl don't sound better. CD players will sound like that if you've got a good CD player or you've got a buffer unit, and you can buy buffer units online. They're not hard to find once you look for them. Yeah. I think Burson Audio in Melbourne did a really good one. I think that was the first thing I bought of theirs. I've got one of their amplifiers. I've got a few different things. Yeah, cool. They do handmade solid state stuff based out of Melbourne. They sell a lot to the States because there's a big market for that in America. Australia doesn't have a big enough population to support the people who actually want really high quality sound that isn't tubes and valves, because
there's like a Venn diagram, and I fucking hate Venn diagrams, but of people who want high quality sound who aren't extremely autistic.
Yeah.
And, you know, like obviously if you love really high quality sound, but you love valves where you have to turn on an amp and let it fucking warm up.
Yep.
I don't want to wait for that shit. I want it to sound pretty much that good, but just be solid state. So it takes 2 minutes to turn it on. It's fine.
Yeah.
It works. I don't want to fucking wait 25 minutes. I don't want it to overheat. I don't want anything to do with valves.
Yeah.
And they look cool. They're fine. Fucking annoying. You know what I mean? You know, like all that. Yeah. The valve
for sure.
amplifiers and all that stuff. It's like, fuck, I just want solid state, the best solid state you can get.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a bit of a rant about that.
But 100%. There's actually a guy because I keep an eye on audio shit within Canberra, just on Gumtree.
Yeah, same.
And there was a guy selling a fucking. I have to find the and I'll have to do this after the thing. But there was a guy that was selling a really high end, fucking vinyl player, like record player. And coincidentally, I listened to a podcast recently. It was recorded in 2018, but I'm catching up.
Yeah.
What I did is when I hear a podcast and I like it, I'll listen from the point I discovered them till now. And then once I catch up, I'll go back to like a round figure, like the start of 2019, and listen to everything from that year. And then I'll even go back to 18 and listen up to 19.
Yeah.
I'm midway through 18 on this podcast, and the producer's called Dean Delray.
Yep.
And he has his podcast where he interviews comedians, because he's a comedian.
Yes.
But he was in the music industry for 25 years as a guitarist, singer guitarist. And he also has what he calls his handmade episodes, where he interviews like shit that he likes, like someone that produces handmade fucking vinyl players. So I had this guy on there who's from like a history of record player producers, and it all started when his father made a record cleaner, like this device you put a vinyl in and it cleans it, and it sounds so much better.
Yeah, because they get filthy and they're physical things. Yeah.
And after that, he quit his day job and started making them. And his dad, like his grandfather, said, "Can I work with you?" And then when he got old enough, he started working with his old man too. So it's like a 3-generation thing. And now they make these vinyl players and record players. And
what brand is that?
That's what I can't remember. But
we'll look it up later. It'll be in the show notes.
I looked it up, but just no, it won't be in the show notes.
It's going to be in the show notes. I'm going to do an additional bootleg show notes.
Yeah, it's going to be as part of the physical media. If you buy it on cassette,
if you buy the cassette, you get a copy. You get a vinyl. If you want a copy of the vinyl, that's going to cost a little bit more, but we will do a vinyl of this episode. If you just hit us up, we'll get some estimates. It's going to be tough. We'll do a laser disc. If you want a laser disc of this video recording, hit us up. We'll see what we can do. You might be back at another $500-600. Maybe. How much does it cost to get a laser disc printed?
Oh, who knows, man? Who knows? I know that it's called VPI. That's the company.
Okay.
And I looked it up. There's a guy and this is the coincidence, the whole thing. Yeah, fuck it. You don't even need to buy anything now. I just gave the answer.
Yeah.
So VPI was the company, and I coincidentally just looked up. Oh yeah, what? I wonder if there's anyone just coincidentally. There's a guy in Belconnen selling one.
How much?
This is the high level of shit. 12 grand.
Yeah, no, that's about what I expect for a high level. Yeah.
And I'm like, that's on Gumtree, dude.
Yeah. Like my dad had a Lynn Sondek diamond-headed vinyl player.
Yeah.
And those are the same now as they were in the 70s. And if you buy a brand new one of those, you'll pay 15 grand.
Yeah. Yeah, so VPI is the company.
Yeah. Because the componentry, you can't get it good for cheaper.
Yeah. Well, that's what he said. Yeah.
It's absolutely insane. I would argue that there is probably diminishing returns past spending that amount of, there's things you can do. It's a bit of a psycho obsession at that point. That's so much money.
Yeah.
That is so much money to be spending on a player. Because if you spend, and to be honest, like speakers, my friend Joe, who you probably know him from the Beast Monkey podcast. Yep. He dropped a serious amount of money recently on a pretty good stereo, and it sounds good. But he still said to me, he goes, it doesn't sound as good as your dad's Sonabs. The Sonabs, the Swedish speakers from the 70s, the omnidirectional ones that my dad had plugged in back in the day. Which, if you don't know Sonab speakers, they are just insane.
Yeah.
If you look up the top of the line Sonabs, they would have 6 tweeters on top, a subwoofer in the bass, and a mid range at the back. The ones above that would have 12 tweeters on each channel. 12 tweeters, all pointing in different directions.
Yep.
2 mid ranges and 2 different levels of subwoofer in the bass.
Yeah.
And they used to use them at concerts. They would be concert speakers. But you could just, back in the day, in the 70s, you would pay probably a quarter of the price of a house for a pair of these. And my idiot dad, who I love to death, in the 70s, bought a pair of these Sonab speakers for like $800 for a pair in the 70s.
Yeah, yeah.
That's insane. People would earn $4,000 a year.
Yeah.
And he spent $800.
Yeah.
It's wild. But they sound, he's still got them. Yeah. I picked up a second-hand pair for a steal. They usually go for between $2,000 to $3,000 second-hand now. Yeah. I got a pair of the Sonab OA 112s. Is it 112s? 116? Anyway, the 116. Yeah. They cost me $800 from Eden Wollongong on eBay, who didn't know what he had. He sort of picked them up somewhere. They weren't in amazing condition, but they still worked. And I offered him a buy it now price of $800. He had them listed for like $600 on like a 5-day thing, and I said no, I'll come get him. And I drove up and got him the next day. Yeah, right. Just past Wollongong and just brought him back, and like a 12-hour road trip or something. Yeah, just weaving in and out of all these back roads to get him, and he thought he'd got a steal. Yeah. All he had to do was research and realize he could have got about $3,000 for them. Yeah. But fuck it, I have
so someone that got me into like hi-fi and shit like that. Got a set of speakers made in Adelaide. Yeah, okay. And they were sent over, and he had 12 tweeters and 8 mids in this bank. Wow. And he had a 120 watt per channel, 5-channel power amp powering them. Wow. And I'll overlay a photo here of me standing next to them when I was a 19-year-old kid. Yeah, wow. Which is probably more of a shock to see me as a 19-year-old kid. But yeah.
You're still a kid, Marky.
Yeah, I just look like I should know what I'm doing sometimes.
Oh, yeah, don't we all?
But yeah, that was a really cool thing. I'll show you in the lounge room after this. I have, from that guy, that same dude, hooked me up with a set of really good, it's all Morans with one Morel tweeter in there. It's 2 6-inch subs, 1 4-inch mid, and a tweeter, all built into one unit as a center speaker.
Yeah, wow.
And it was built for a guy that had a home theater system that wanted that as the center speaker to sit below the projection.
Yeah, yeah.
He had that built and then never picked it up.
Wow.
Financial problems, whatever. He put the deposit down but never picked it up.
Yeah.
So the guy who got these speakers built said, "What do you want for that?" And the guy was like, "Look, he paid a deposit. I haven't heard from him for like 12 months. It's past the time of like having to hold it.
Yeah.
I'll give it to you for." He gave him like an $800 deposit.
Yeah.
And he was like, "I'll give it to you for the total minus $800. So I saved $800 on this thing and bought it. And the guy was literally like, if he comes back, I'll probably just remake it. Like I've done it once. Yeah. So this was initially going to be like a $1,200 speaker.
Yeah.
And he picked it up for $400.
Wow.
And yeah, then I bought it off him for $500.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And I've had it since I was 19. Yeah. Wow. So, he got me into all this crazy shit.
Yeah.
But I heard Joe was talking about audio stuff, and something he mentioned, which I want to bring up. He said in one of the episodes, because I listened to Beast Monkey, I've listened back to all the old episodes.
For those who don't know, Beast Monkey Podcast is a podcast I do with my friend Joe, and sometimes Alf and Raf are on the episodes as well.
Yep. Yeah. And he mentioned that like he got a new system, and you said, how is it? And he says, it was better by putting a mount on the speaker. A lot of people don't understand. That's me.
I think it's actually me.
Yeah, a lot of people don't understand how great you can increase your experience by making sure you're at the right focal point.
Oh yes, yeah,
Like
yeah.
I'll show you after this in the shed. I've got my speakers, but they're on the ground, and I mean to like put them up.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's part of why this wall of sound that this dude bought when I was like 19 was so good, because whether you're sitting or standing, it sounded the same. Like it was just always good, because it was just such a large body of equipment. Yeah.
And that's the theory with the Sonabs, the omnidirectional stuff. It turns the whole room you're in into the speaker.
Yeah.
As opposed to having to be in a laboratory where you have to sit in there's like an optimal space. The best thing a speaker can do is exist in the real world, because no one's house is a box with the exact materials you need. Everyone's house has couches and windows and ceilings, etc. So, yeah.
Speaking of Beast Monkey, I listened to a lot of episodes because I didn't listen to them as they come out. For the listeners, and I've told this to Chris off mic, I listened to them in binge style. So I've just gone back and gone from like 2018, back when we had like before Chris did his first ever festival show. I was talking about leading up to that. And just really, it was like watching a documentary that was like that was like written in real time.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was, if the documentary was like fucking 36 hours long.
Yeah, you'd have to cut it down quite a lot.
But yeah, it was really interesting. And a lot of the things that you guys talk about, you and Joe, and guests, Raf talks a lot about this as well in one of his episodes, is movies.
Yes.
Where, I mean, both sort of like cool movies. Like we have different types, but we have like a few that cross over.
Yeah.
I'm a massive fan of 90s like horror and action, which is why that just says to me that the ultimate series for anyone that likes action and horror, you have to go with Terminator.
Would you put Terminator in horror?
First one, yeah. The first Terminator movie, in my mind, is a horror movie.
I guess it is a slasher film.
It's
a slasher film. I guess the first Alien, the first Terminator, and Predator, they're all sci-fi slasher.
And the second one is an action, which is why number 1 and number 2 for anyone that likes horror. And the Terminator was a fucking like Halloween Mike Myers type villain.
Slasher genre pick. Yeah, it is. 100%.
Yeah, so that's why I put it in the first one in a horror theme.
Yeah. It's funny because obviously it's sci-fi as well because of the time travel elements, and obviously it's action because of the thriller chase vibe of it. Yeah. That's why genre is so weird, because so many movies fit so many genres. It's like it's great for companies who are selling stuff.
Yeah.
It's not that great for the audience.
No.
Because you kind of, one, it's a spoiler.
Yeah.
I'd rather watch a movie where I go in, I have no idea what's about to happen.
Yeah.
Like when I saw Midnight in Paris, didn't know it was a time travel film. Sorry for the spoilers.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about it. But it's one of the best time travel movies to come out in the last 20 years. Maybe the best. What other time travel movies have come out recently that are actually good since the 80s? Because we've got Bill and Ted 1 and 2, which are classics.
Yeah.
Stone cold classics.
Yeah.
Terminator 1 and 2. Back to the Future 1, 2, 3. All magic.
Yeah.
I guess About Time is a very good time travel film.
Yeah.
What else is there?
Honestly can't think of any since then. Like all my, like you said, Back to the Future, all that shit, classics. But there's a guy in Canberra that has a fucking DeLorean. Have you seen that?
I haven't seen. Oh, I might have.
There is a guy that will do.
They look nuts in person,
dude. And do you know what?
What?
He's like recreated like a real life flux capacitor and mounted it in between the passenger and driver's seat.
Now, do you feel like that's a bit too far? A little bit. Like if you had to do it yourself, you'd be like, oh, I'm not going to do that.
I would start to do it and get over it.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Actually following through on building your own flux capacitor, which is what makes time travel possible, is nuts.
Yeah.
Like it's fine. Like if you're listening, guy with time machine that doesn't work, awesome, but fuck. Like, hey, what's for dinner, dude? Like, what's going on?
What's for dinner, dude?
Where are you? Like,
he could be anywhere once that's built.
Oh, fucking anywhen.
He could be anywhen.
So that's that thing you've seen. Obviously, we obviously know what the solar system looks like.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
It's just the ball in the middle of the sun, things flying around.
I mean,
it.
yeah, if you want to believe that.
Yeah. But then
I don't want to lose the conspiracy theorist.
I'm willing to lose the conspiracy
Yeah.
theory. We can ditch that 80% of the audience and we'll stick with the 20% of sane people. But you look at there's animations online of the sun flying around the center of the galaxy.
No, I haven't seen that.
So if you look those up, the sun is traveling at X speed
Okay.
around the galaxy, as everything in the spiral galaxy is.
Yeah.
And the planets are traveling around it in a spiral, sort of being dragged along by the gravity of the sun.
Right.
And when you realize that, it all makes time travel so stupid, because if you traveled through time, unless you're traveling through space as well and projecting where in space you're going to be,
Yeah.
you would just appear in space.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, it
where
would be
you
in a
are now
different
in the
spot.
universe,
Yeah,
even 10 minutes ago would be a different part of Earth, because we're traveling at 600 meters a second or something. The Earth is spinning at, what is it, 600 meters a second?
Yeah, who knows? Yeah.
You've seen Doctor Who, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Best ever description of that ever. They said, "Who are you?" And he never said, he says, "I'm the Doctor," but they're like, what the fuck are you? And he goes, "The Earth is spinning." He describes all of this stuff about the planet is spinning around the galaxy. He goes, "I can feel that." And I was like, that's insane. Like the idea that you can feel the Earth spinning.
Well, yeah.
Like that you're able to feel all of those
Sense
of those forces and know that it's happening.
Yeah.
Because obviously we can't.
Yeah, yeah.
We're part of the planet. We are the planet.
Yeah.
Everything that's on the planet right now is part of the planet, except for asteroids that land on the planet.
Yep.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah,
anyway.
it's like when I was a kid, I said to my old man, "Dad, if the Earth's spinning, how fast is it spinning?"
Yeah.
And he gave me the most ludicrous answer.
What did he say?
You thought "keep the rabbits out" was a funny answer. You wait to hear what he said. He said to me, "It's spinning so fast, if it stopped, we would fly off it."
That is true though.
Yeah, but I just pictured the Earth like a carousel that was going so fast that the centrifugal force was keeping us on it.
But I think that is what's happening.
That's probably right, but it's a
is-
really crazy way to answer that question, right?
I think that's. I think it's a good way. I like that. I don't think that's bad. I've heard that before. I've heard that before. Yeah, it's a fairly common. They used to talk about that at school.
Yeah, right. Okay.
But it's very crazy in terms of, when you're like swinging something around, like water in a cup, and it doesn't fall out because of the force of the speed. That's why that's why we don't fly off.
A bucket of water over the head. You've seen that?
Yeah,
shit?
yeah, exactly. That's what's happening with us on the planet.
Yeah.
We're spinning around so fast, and the gravity is sucking us down.
Yeah.
Getting sucked.
Well,
off
the
by
atmospheres
gravity.
must be holding us in.
Well, the thing is, the atmosphere is like, we look at fish in the water and they're swimming through the water. And we're like, yeah, well, you can swim through that because it's water. The air is also that.
Yeah.
We've got all this water air on top of us. The reason we can't jump is because of all the air is so heavy above us. You know what I mean? We can't jump into space.
Yeah, yeah.
Because we've got all this stuff. Like birds flying around are just like fish in water.
Yeah.
When they flap, they're pushing off the air. You know what I mean? It sounds weird to think about that. But that's all held on. You know what I mean? Like the spinning, that's the stuff.
It's all, yeah. It's like it's so tightly packed.
It is, but it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're spinning around the planet. But the spiral visualizations, if you haven't looked this up, everyone, look it up. The animations that show the sun traveling through and the planets all spiraling after it, chasing it, like, oh, don't leave me behind kind of vibe.
Yeah.
And you're like, because they're spinning, but also spinning around. And the sun is spinning and it's going, and then the galaxies, and they're all rotating around each other.
Yeah.
And what is it, like in 3 billion years, our galaxy is going to hit another galaxy?
Probably.
Well, that's
I
what
don't
they're
know.
projecting.
Yeah.
Anyway. And then
I picture the sun is like the mother duck and all the planets are like the
it's
little
exactly
ones.
like that. It's exactly like that, except on a solar system level.
Yeah. Wow, that's insane.
It spun me out more than, not literally, but also literally, more than anything I've fucking seen.
Yeah.
Science-wise, ever.
It's so crazy to think about the world outside of the world fuck.
Do we just keep going? And we've lost video, but we keep the audio.
Yeah, you just keep listening. If you've made it this far and you're listening, then the rest.
Is there much more to do?
Nah, we'll close up in a sec.
Okay, yeah.
This is the after dark part of the podcast.
You can just put a photo up at this point and just have the audio keep playing.
Yeah. It would be like when Homer goes in for the interview after he stole the candy off the chick's ass and they tried to frame him and they just put the freeze frame of him just frozen on there and did the audio over the top of it, just being like, no, Mr. Simpson, no.
Controversial opinion. Not a Simpsons fan.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Like, it's fine, but also everyone talks about it like it's South Park or something.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, oh, like that hilarious episode where fucking Lisa wanted a pony. And that was the episode.
I feel like that was a good thing to say without the video because it's like you're in witness protection now.
Oh, I know.
You can
I'll
say
defend this to the fucking ends of the earth. Everyone raves about The Simpsons. It's fine. And most of the good stuff in it is just stolen from somewhere else anyway.
Yeah.
I'm just not a fan. They're like, hey, these American families, huh? She really should leave him. He's an alcoholic. Oh, the kid's an idiot, but the daughter's a genius. It's like, hey, I've seen every version of this before. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
it's like when Seth MacFarlane accepted the award for Family Guy, right?
Yeah.
He's like, Fox. I'd like to thank Fox because they allowed a show to be passed about a dysfunctional family, and then like 20 years later, that led me to write Family Guy, and now I'm here. And he's basically given a tip of the hat to The Simpsons for inspiring him to do.
Yeah. But Married with Children, it's the same. Like, there's so many shows.
They're all there.
They're all very similar. Like, they're all the same types of
It's
things.
a bit like...
The whole thing of one smart kid, one dumb kid. Never met a family where...
That's an actual
where one of the
reality.
kids is a genius and one's an idiot.
Yeah.
Never. I mean, I'm sure it can happen if there's like false paternity where like the oldest has a different parent, different father, you know, which is quite common. But
yeah, I got into Rick and Morty, and then I was kind of like, oh well, why am I also going to enjoy Solar Opposites? It's basically the same thing.
yeah,
And then I watched Solar Opposites, and I'm like, I enjoy this also.
yeah.
Like, it actually you can enjoy. Like, I've watched multiple of the same.
Yeah.
But yeah, South Park is the true winner of that in my mind.
Well, it felt like the one to me that was it was breaking boundaries.
Yeah.
There were
yeah.
constant controversies with that show, and I haven't seen the last few seasons. 'Cause
Neither
I've been
have I.
So busy, and I'm sure they're fine.
I'm
I
about
haven't-
5 seasons behind you.
It became, my brother talks about this, it became a sketch show in a sense where the characters are just enacting the latest sketch based on the news as opposed to them actually living lives, which they felt like they were doing in the early seasons.
That's a good analogy.
Because now it's just whatever they need to happen happens, and it happens to those kids.
Yeah.
And they're all the same age, even though they've done new stuff now where they're old.
Yep.
It's like, oh, like, you know, when they did that thing where they went to 4th grade?
Yeah.
If they'd just kept on every couple of seasons, bumping them up a grade and making them a little bit older, that would have felt so much better to me
Yeah.
than having them have more episodes than days of the year.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what helps with physical like actors.
Because they get older.
They have to
have to
write
get
it
older.
into
Yeah.
the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. They like 2.5 Men. Like, I never really watched that, but the son gets older.
Yes.
Yeah.
God, what a gronk. How bad is it in movies and shows where the kids don't look like the parents? And I know this is old ground.
Yeah.
Tarantino talked about it on Reservoir Dogs when he cast Chris Penn, who looks like Morris. What's his name? The old, you know, the dad and the son.
Yep.
He was like, don't point that gun at my dad.
Yeah.
At the end, they actually look like they could be related.
They could be. Yeah.
They feel like they could be related. And there was a behind the scenes thing, which I never forgot, where Tarantino's like, funny thing about family is they fucking look the same. Every time you see a kid or a mother and a daughter, they look related. Movies, they never do. What the fuck's going on?
Yeah.
Real life, all the time.
Yep.
Everyone who sees me goes, oh my God, you look so much like your dad.
Yeah. 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 The kid looks more like Berta's kid.
It's constant that, like, even Family Ties, love it to death, you know, with Michael J. Fox, the sitcom he was in the 80s. The dad is fucking Michael Gross, 6'3", skinny, lanky guy. Michael J. Fox, 5'4",
Yeah. Yeah.
doesn't look anything like him or the mum,
Yep. Yeah.
like Meredith Baxter Bernie. And then the sister, to be fair, does look related to him.
Right.
Justine Bateman.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who, and my brother brought this up too recently, is there are famous siblings who look more identical to each other that don't break gender stereotypes of he still very much looks like a man version. She looks like a woman version. They're both good looking people. You know, Justin Bateman?
Yeah,
Jason
yeah.
Bateman.
Jason
Bateman
Bateman.
and Justine Bateman.
Yeah.
Look so similar.
Yeah. Yeah.
They are the most similar looking famous siblings in the world.
Yeah.
But they're both good looking versions
I just
of a
keep
man
thinking
or a
of
woman.
Patrick Bateman from fucking.
No, definitely not.
Okay.
Fuck, I hate Christian Bale. Yeah, Jason. How good is Jason Bateman?
Yeah.
He's accidentally built up this, like, you know, in the last 10 years, he just keeps on appearing in movies and doing
stuff,
great
yeah.
versions. And you're like, oh, here's Jason Bateman again. I thought he was in Beans Baxter, Private Detective, and then he disappeared, and he did for a bit because he did Teen Wolf 2.
Yeah.
What a crazy film that was.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's why they could cast him in that, because he looked enough like Michael J. Fox
To cast.
to be...
Oh, that's a good segue into our last part of the show.
Mm-hmm.
Favorite part in a movie. Favorite scene in a movie. Just off the top of your head, name one of your favorite scenes.
The one I'm going to go for right now, because it just popped into my head, is the anime from 1985 or 86 called The Wings of Honomis, which also goes under the title Royal Space Force, which was made by the guys, some of the guys on it went on to do the original Neon Genesis Evangelion. At the time, it was pre-Akira. It was the most expensive anime that was ever made. If you haven't seen it, it's incredible. Madman in Australia do the best version of it. You can buy them on eBay. It's not too cheap, not too hard to get. You can probably pirate it as well. And spoiler alert, this doesn't really ruin anything. There's a scene where he's an astronaut, and they're building up for the first ever person to go into space.
Yep.
And he freaks out and leaves the project because someone tries to assassinate him from some like political faction. And he goes out to the country with this girl he's kind of got a thing going on with.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of not, but she's looking after an orphan, like this child of a friend type thing. She's not related to her, but she looks after the kid. And they're standing out in the countryside, and there's just a billion stars above them, you know, like the Japanese countryside.
Yeah, yeah.
Billion stars. And they're all looking up at them, just amazed by the beauty of it all. And the little kid, who's like 3 or 4, points up and says, "A star." You know, little kids point out obvious shit.
Yeah, yeah.
There are 10,000 stars in the sky,
Yeah.
and the kid points and yells the star. And I feel like that's like, yeah, that's my favorite scene.
That's
in
your
any
favorite
movie,
scene?
yeah. And there are others,
Yeah.
like top 5 movies.
Oh, Terminator 1 and 2 are literally 1 and 2 in my list.
If you can't have any
series, like franchise.
I just pick a Terminator.
Yep. Okay.
Because anyone, if you're giving a top 5 recommendation, if they like one of them, they'll go watch the other.
Okay. Well, the hard part about that is now I have to choose.
Well, you have to
one
choose
or
2 because it's the better movie. I know what you mean, but I've discussed this extensively with a lot of people. It's a better overall film.
Okay. Yep.
Do you know what I mean?
I do.
You can't have one without the other.
Yep. Yeah, and
Choose whichever one you want, though. It's your 5.
no, I do actually prefer 2.
Yeah.
Yep.
How incredible is the extended version of 2?
I've seen everything you can watch about Terminator 2.
It's incredible. Ridiculous that the iTunes version, and if you're listening, Apple, fucking hell, the iTunes version has no special features.
Yeah.
No extended edition.
Yeah.
One of the biggest films of all time. It's tantamount to when you can't buy the old Star Wars.
Every time a new medium comes out, I always buy Terminator 2.
Have you got the Laserdisc?
I have 4K version.
Have you got the Laserdisc?
I don't have the Laserdisc.
Grab one. They're incredible.
Okay.
The artwork, everything, at the top of the line. I think they have the fold out with like the face comes off.
Okay,
the best versions, if you can find it.
Yeah.
It has like Arnie's face, and then you open a thing, and then there's like the different layers.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
Oh, cool. So top 5. So Terminator, Predator.
1, yes,
Yeah.
of course. So we're going to 2 Arnies straight away.
Straight away off the bat.
Yeah.
Uncle Buck with John Candy.
Yep.
I would have to go. Oh man, there's so many.
No one's going to hold you to it, so just pick them.
Yeah, okay.
Those 3.
Yeah, I got
Top of the mind.
I got 3 on the top, and then you have to go. Ghostbusters.
1 or 2?
1.
Okay.
Yeah, because I seen it first.
Yeah.
And
I love Ghostbusters 1, but I'll choose if I have to watch only 1, or if I can only keep 1.
Yeah.
2 every time.
And if I had to choose another random movie, fucking Goodfellas. I completely looked over the top of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Goodfellas
Cool.
is actually my number 1 depending on the month.
Is Joe Pesci the most underrated actor in cinema history?
Yeah, Joe. No, I actually think what made that movie was the combination of all three of those characters.
The combo for sure. But how many movies has he
just made? Yeah,
been in where he carries the load of all exposition without it making it feel like exposition, all the emotion without ever feeling like the center of attention. He's a very generous actor. He gives all the other people on screen, but has all the dialogue.
Yeah,
he has all the dialogue in every movie he's in. They're like, just let Joe say it.
Mm.
If like De Niro can't deliver a line or can't get an idea across, they're like, just give it to Joe. And he just goes, hey, what are we going to do over here? Just rolls out. Just, you look back at those films and there's so many of those films where he just machine gunning dialogue everywhere. And you're like, how did you even... And none of it feels contrived. He's always the character.
Yeah.
You never feel like he's not in that world. He almost feels like a prop. He's so good.
Yeah.
It's like a good referee. You don't even notice him because he never makes a mistake.
I tell you what was a good movie that wouldn't be in my top 5, but it's like having to choose a top 5 reminded me of this one.
Yep.
Random choice, fucking Macaulay Culkin in
My Girl?
No. In Richie Rich. I don't know why. Richie Rich is like my favorite Macaulay Culkin movie.
Yeah. Okay.
Aside from
McDonald's in his house.
Yeah. Aside from because he's in Uncle Buck.
Yes.
He's in I actually seen a really cool video of John Candy reciting lines with
rehearsing them.
Doing a run through with Macaulay Culkin.
Interesting.
Pre Uncle Buck filming, so like leading up to and so at the time, so Uncle Buck came out before Home Alone.
Yeah.
And some of the scenes in Home Alone were actually written into the script for Uncle Buck, and they actually were like, no, this might be better in this other movie, which I'm going to make soon.
Yeah.
So anyway, this video of like a 92 or 3, like behind the scenes of reciting lines with a 4-year-old.
Yeah.
Macaulay Culkin.
It'll be in the show notes.
Link it's just a random Instagram video. Someone just put it up. Someone that's got like access to archives and
I'm sure it will be there somewhere. I'm sure if you search it, you can find it.
Yeah, it's
John
pretty
Candy's
cool.
He's got a pretty big following online.
Yeah.
A huge following.
Yeah.
Surprising considering how long he's been dead.
94. Yeah. Yep. It's really cool. But anyway,
so the top 5 is Terminator 2.
Yep.
Predator.
Yep.
Both solid picks. The third one was
Ghostbusters.
The fourth one was...
Do you remember?
The fourth one was Ghostbusters.
Yeah, so the third one?
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, let's work back. Maybe if we remove
the fifth one was Goodfellas.
Yeah.
So what was your third?
I can't even remember my fifth. My third of 5.
That's what I'm saying. What was the third? You had Terminator 2, Predator.
Yeah, the solid choice.
Ghostbusters and Goodfellas. What was your... There's another one in there.
The audio listeners have us on this one.
Yeah. I'll do my 5 and then you can see if you remember yours.
Do it.
So first up, Croupier. Mm-hmm. Directed by Mike Hodges, starring Clive Owen, Gina David.
Haven't seen it.
Oh my God, you have to watch it. It's $5 on iTunes.
Yeah.
Get it straight away. It's the role... You know how Eric Bana did Chopper and then every director in the world who saw that said, I want to make a movie with him?
Yeah.
That's why Clive Owen has a career.
Okay.
He had been a stage actor up until that point. He still did TV and other stuff, but he was like touring Romeo and Juliet with the London Shakespeare Company and all that stuff, which is where he met his wife.
Okay.
They played Romeo and Juliet on a tour of Europe. How incredible is that story?
Yeah.
Imagine they're like, how'd you meet your wife? And it's like, oh, Romeo and Juliet touring England, touring all of Europe with the fucking Royal Shakespeare Company. Fucking... Anyway, and also, you know Closer? Have you seen Closer?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah. So he played the Jude Law character on stage.
Yep.
And then in the film played the older guy because it was years later, which is interesting. The character he plays in Croupier is not dissimilar. I feel like the person who wrote that film saw him play the Jude Law character on stage of Closer.
Yeah.
You'll see what I mean when you watch it.
Yeah.
What was that other one I recommended you to watch recently? You wrote it down.
No, anime one or?
No, there was another one.
Your Name was the one, the anime
Oh, yeah,
one.
no, that was the anime. There was another one before that.
Yeah.
Anyway, you wrote it down. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
First one, Croupier. Second one, Basquiat. Directed by Julian Schnabel, starring Jeffrey Wright and Benicio del Toro and Michael Wincott. Who else is in that?
Internal Affairs.
Cast.
Infernal Affairs.
Infernal
yeah.
Affairs. Not in my top 5, but incredible.
Yeah.
Maybe my favorite Hong Kong action thriller.
Yeah.
Anyway. So we got Croupier, we got Basquiat.
Yep.
Third one, we're going to go French, Jean et le Garçon Formidable, which is Jean and the Perfect Guy.
Okay.
Starring Virginie Ledoyen, a bunch of people. No spoilers for that, but anyone who likes the other two movies, if you haven't seen Croupier and Basquiat and you go watch them, Basquiat I think you can just find on YouTube. It's impossible to get anywhere else. Third one, the French one. Fourth one, it's hard choosing, isn't it? Because there's so many movies.
It is hard, yeah.
But I'm going to go Code 46.
Okay.
Which stars Tim Robbins and what's her name? I can't remember, but it's directed by Michael Winterbottom.
Okay.
Really, really great film. And then fifth, I'm going to wrap it out with I sometimes used to say The Wings of Honemes, but I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say Tierra, which is a Spanish film directed by Julio Medem, which was going to be starring Antonio Banderas, but he got all the Desperado films and all that stuff, and so he was over in America.
Right.
So it stars a bunch of other people. But if you haven't heard of Julio Medem, his films are nuts.
Yep.
You might have heard. Some of them are up on SBS On Demand sometimes, like Sex and Lucia and Lovers of the Arctic Circle. He's just
Underrated SBS On Demand.
Oh, there's the films on there. If you go on there, like this is maybe the best streaming service around. It's fucking incredible. It's got so much good stuff up there and stuff that isn't available anywhere else.
Yeah.
But yeah. So Tierra, Jean and the Perfect Guy, Croupier, Basquiat, and Code 46.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard leaving out an edit of Kill Bill 1 and 2 into the one film.
Oh, yeah.
But I almost put Tarantino to the side and go, I don't even put him in my list because everyone knows about him already.
That's why Goodfellas didn't come to mind straight away.
Because it's too good.
It's still one of my favorite comedies.
Yeah, but people know about it already, so recommending that is hard because it's like, I recommend you read the Bible or why don't you breathe some air? Have a good lungful of the old air. And they're like, yeah, dude, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Favorite scene in a movie? I'll tell you mine.
Yeah. Uncle Buck was your third movie.
Yeah. Well, another reason why I didn't mention it off the top of my head. It's Uncle Buck and John Candy movies in general, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. That's why I didn't I didn't mention
Cool Runnings.
That. That's why I didn't mention Cool Runnings or Planes, Trains because, like, Uncle Buck's my favorite John Candy film, so I just figured that if you like that, then it's recommended for the rest. So there's two great scenes, short. One, Teen Wolf.
Oh, the bathroom scene. Dad,
scene.
don't come in, of course. That's the only good scene in that film in retrospect.
That's it. But all in all, my favorite scene, which is also my favorite my favorite extra delivering a line scene in a movie.
Yeah.
Would have to be, I think it's a Tarantino, Reservoir Dogs.
Yes.
Cops walk into the bathroom.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I know the scene. Yeah.
Buddy, I'm gonna shoot you in the face if you don't put your hands on that dashboard.
Yeah.
That's my favorite scene.
That's a great movie. That little whole vignette of him learning all his lines and all that. The fact that Tarantino was able to put in his first ever film.
Yep.
If you're not a good actor, you're a bad actor. And bad acting is some bullshit. In that movie, in his first movie. Like, you got to learn your lines. You got to feel. Anyway, that whole bit where he's kind of teaching people how to act within his first ever film is just
so good.
So incredible.
My favorite cameo of Tarantino in a film is in Death Proof when he's the bartender.
You like that more than when he's in Desperado when he's telling the pissing in the glass scene?
Yep. Yeah. Do you know why?
Better than in Pulp Fiction when he's playing the fucking, is there a sign out in the yard?
Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
Do you know why? Because I'm a fucking bartender. And
I do love Death Proof. That's maybe I love Kill Bill more, because it's so big, but it's my second favorite Tarantino film.
Yeah, Death Proof, Tarantino's part in that is good to me because it is one of the two components that makes a perfect bartender.
Yeah.
The perfect bartender, if I was to describe, would be a hybrid between Tarantino and Death Proof, can serve people, doesn't take shit, and then at the end of the day can pour around a shots and sit down with everyone and do them.
And if you didn't know he was the director, you wouldn't think he is.
No.
You'd be like, who's this cool, weird actor playing the Dos Chartreuse, all that stuff.
Yeah. So that's one part of a perfect bartender. The other part is like from The Simpsons. You need to be part... if you want to beat up my friend in my bar, that's a 2-drink minimal. You need...
So just quickly, favourite line of Tarantino in Death Proof?
Yeah, I don't know.
My favourite is like, hey, Warren, who's this guy? He's like, it's Stuntman Mike. Who's Stuntman Mike? He's a stuntman.
Yeah.
Like, boom.
That's a great line, yeah.
That's so good. It's so, I know that movie off the bat. Yeah, word for word.
I know a few movies word for word. That's not one of them, obviously. But yeah, I just love Goodfellas and Uncle Buck so much. I know fucking every word.
It is crazy how Death Proof is so underrated.
Yeah.
Like she comes out and she goes, he's got a copy of Italian Vogue. And it's like, they sell Italian Vogue here? It's like, no, it's his own personal copy. He'll let it go for $17. What?
Yeah.
What?
We're
going to go in thirds. Are you in?
Yeah.
What? Incredible. The whole thing. And that fucking dialogue with Kurt Russell on the fucking veranda.
Yeah.
When she's like, have you been following us? He's like, hey, look. And he gets real Kurt Russell.
Yeah.
And he's like, I ain't stalking you. That don't mean I ain't a wolf. Or whatever the word. That's not word for word. But it don't mean I'm not a wolf.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. Where she's like, is that your car scared me? I say, it's my mom's car. All those that whole dialogue and stuff. That's like...
Yeah.
It's
I
like,
have to rewatch that movie.
Oh, dude, watch it. Everyone who's listening to this, watch Death Proof, the full long version, not the fucking weird edit they put together in that double feature thing.
Yeah.
He got fucked so hard by the fact that they cut Kill Bill in half.
Yeah.
Putting the spoiler at the end of the first one, so the end of the second film doesn't have any gut punch. I've shown people that film, the 3.5 hour version. Or 3:27, because I do my own edits of movies and I've cut out the spoiler bit, which was never meant to be in the film. And you can tell because that whole section reuses music, which is in a different part of the film.
Right.
So there's no way that he would reuse music. So that obviously you just cut it. As soon as she slams the door on Sophie, the car boot on Sophie, and then you cut to part 6. Massacre at 2, or chapter 6, Massacre at 2 Pines or whatever.
Yeah.
That's the immediate cut. No one knows that's a cut.
Right.
I've shown people that and they go, what happens in part 2? I'm like, you just watched part 1 and part 2. That's one movie. It flows so smooth. And then when fucking the daughter is like bang, bang, when she walks in the door and you don't know she's still alive after 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
That's the best reveal.
That's meant to be
in any movie in history.
Yeah.
Controversial take. That's the worst. I'm not going to say it. Not going to say it.
Fuck you.
No, I'm not going to say it.
Say it.
I'll tell you after. That's an extra. I can't say that.
Okay.
It's not.
It's not YouTube ready.
It's not YouTube ready.
But yeah.
But yes, that fucking at the end.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that, so I seen I was watching a movie recently that I watched when it came out on TV.
Yeah.
Like I never owned it.
Yeah.
I just watched it whenever it was on TV.
Yeah.
And I actually watched it on like a streaming service, and it was the full version.
What movie?
I'm trying to remember. But it just made so much more sense because they didn't have as many deleted scenes. I can't remember what it was. I was chatting to someone at work about it, and they were like, "Oh yeah, well, didn't you know that?" I'm like, "Until recently, I didn't." While I think of that, another movie that did that was I rewatched Terminator 2.
Yeah.
When it came out on Blu-ray.
Yes.
Because before that, do you know how I used to consume that movie?
How?
I recorded it off TV and took out the ads.
Oh yeah, that's how we used to do for everything. Yeah.
On VHS.
We still have. My dad used to have a really expensive Sanyo when Sanyo was a real company. He paid like $1,200 for this VHS player. and we recorded everything off TV, and it looked better than if you would fucking buy the version. Somehow.
Yeah.
And we just had fucking
It's about having a good
300
aerial.
VHS.
You have to have a good aerial.
Oh, yeah, a beast of an aerial. Yeah.
Yeah, so we I recorded that. I've actually still have, do you remember a movie called The Monsters? With like, they had like the dad was a Frankenstein,
Monsters,
the
yeah.
mum was a vampire, yeah.
Yeah.
They had a Christmas special called The Monsters Scary Little Christmas.
Yeah.
I recorded that, but it was after my bedtime. So this is in
The
like,
ads are still in.
and the ads are still in it.
Yeah.
And there's an ad there for the new iMac,
Yeah.
and it is a fucking
Computer screen.
all-in-one.
Oh, but it's like a CRT.
CRT
all-in-one.
all-in-one.
CRT all-in-ones are insane.
And it was like $4 or $5
yeah.
And I was like, fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those
Our
were still-
school had
yeah.
12 of those in a room.
Yeah. Because the schools got discounts, though. They didn't pay $4 or $5. They had that docket.
Okay.
Remember, you collect your dockets for Mac computers?
Right. I didn't know that.
Apple did this massive thing in Australia where if you brought in your Coles shopping receipts,
Yeah.
and they would take off a percentage of the price for every one of those, and every kid at school for like a year was collecting these receipts with Coles, and that's how all those computer rooms at schools had Macs in them.
Huh.
Because they got massive discounts, and that was one of the penetration points because they did that everywhere. They did that everywhere, and
Yeah.
it got Mac computers into schools.
Huh.
Interesting. Anyway,
Yeah.
yeah.
Let's wrap it up, man. I'm happy with that. I hope everyone enjoys the second part of this, which is audio only.
Yep. Is this going to be a two-parter or a long episode? Can we make it a long episode?
It's
I love a long episode.
It's a long episode.
Yes.
Yeah. No, just like in Tarantino movies, you can't really clip that at any point.
Yeah, you
It's
can't.
an entire
How
piece.
could you? How could you clip this?
Yeah.
Check out the YouTube. Check out everything.
Yeah, the play next for this is Chris's special, and he's also, I'll have a tile there for his YouTube channel.
And definitely subscribe because the new one's coming out in a few weeks.
The new one's coming out, yeah.
Yeah.
So enjoy that, and you know who I am. If you're already listening to this episode, you found me.
And hey, if you're listening to this episode and you don't know who Marky is,
Too bad.
he probably doesn't want you finding out.
Yeah.
Like,
if you couldn't find me through my media,
yeah, if you can't find me through me,
yeah,
then we're done.
yeah, that's the end. That's the end of your discovery
That's my
period.
favorite ever heckle put down ever. Stuart Lee talking to someone complaining about the show being bad or something. He's like, I'm not sure what to tell you. You're talking about me to me, and I am me. Just the way the whole crowd just dying. He's like, I've already written the show. I can't change it. This is it. This is,
Yeah.
I'm sorry you're not enjoying it, but I've already written all the things on just so funny.
Sometimes a heckle will just lead to like the best thing you ever said on stage.
Yeah.
But yeah, all right. Thanks to everyone for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time. Welcome into the 2023.
2023.
Cheers. Don't buy me a drink. Just name names.
Yeah, right. Big Tony. You'll get fucking thrown out.
The strip club with your floppy disk.
all day. Make people feel ashamed for shit all day.
Don't blow
Turn it
it.
into a hard drive.
Yeah, right. You'll get fucking we're here
Keep it simple. Count your money.
That they're not proud of.
Just give me $10.
Can't quite part with that memory just yet. Speaking of not being able to shake off memories, if you want an experience, coming up on the 3rd of November, we've got the floating. Hey, this thing amplifies my voice. Don't step away from it. For those of you that don't know that, or just need to know that right now, Floating Moon Comedy Experience. Be there on the 3rd of November. At Smith's Alternative. You may have heard of it. It once was a bookshop. The mastermind behind the show is now getting up to give you a little taste of part 3 of the story leading into the Floating Moon Comedy Experience. Chris Marlton!
Thank you, Mark. Let's get a round of applause for Mark emceeing tonight, everybody. Hey everybody. Hey. So when